Okay, the next step is we had some GIA invoices and we want to use those as a match for our grant. So we need to grab a copy of this match form. And again, it needs to have the grant number in here, like we spoke about before, name of the trail administrator, name of the club. And again, we're just putting in the same information. It's the vendor name and what they sold to us, the invoice date, the invoice number, the invoice total amount, was paid by check, and the check number. And so we're doing this for White Mountain Lumber. We're doing this for the hay bales. We're doing this for the grass seed. And then at the bottom here, it totals it up $985. Project administrator needs to sign it, send it in. And now that $985 will become part of our match for our grant. And just like before, we need to prove that we actually bought these materials. So we need a copy of the invoice. So there's the culvert, there's the hay bales, there's the grass seed invoice, and now the checks. You know, White Mountain Lumber, Dan Cordwell, and Brooks Agway. So that completes our match form. Now, if we had volunteer labor, we pull up the volunteer labor form. Again, we got to put in our grant number, project administrator name, club name, and now we fill in the date that the work was done, the name of the person doing the work, and then what they did. So in this case, on 5/9, Steve Smith transported a culvert out to a trail location. The rate came from up here, $28.84 per hour, and number of hours was 2. And he couldn't lift this culvert alone. It was a 20-foot culvert, 24-inch. So he had Eric Waters come out and help him transport this culvert. Again, 2 hours, $28.84 per hour. The next day on 5/10, Steve Smith assisted the excavator operator with the culvert install. That took an hour, $28.84 an hour. The next day, Steve Smith came out and transported hay bales out to the trail. And he couldn't do that alone, so he got Eric Waters to help him. And again, between the two of them, each one spent 2 hours on that task. Later on that day, they installed those hay bales. So they first transported them out and then they installed them. 2 hours each on that. So this all adds up to a total of $374.92 of volunteer labor. And again, that is going to get sent to the Trails Bureau and count towards your 20% match for this project. Okay. Any questions on volunteer match records?
Larry, is there a maximum for volunteers needed?
No.
So if, say, 5 people were transporting that culvert out there to get it out there.
Yep.
Is
Not
that
a problem?
okay?
What I do is I generally, whenever I'm having a trail work day, I bring a clipboard and a sheet of paper, and I usually ask somebody there to please go around and get the names of everybody who showed up. And then, you know, at the end of the day, I write down how many hours we spent, and then I'll come back and fill this form out. So, you know, as long as you track it, you know, who was there and track it, there's no limit.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Again, you're not actually getting paid this amount of money. This amount of money is being credited towards your match. So it's not like you can make anything off of this. It's really just helping you make your match.
Can I ask another question too, just to clarify? On
Yeah.
the excavation, if it's less than 10,000 in the bid, there wasn't 3 bids that needed to be done for that. Are you still gonna want to send them invoices of $2,000 or less for that, or
No.
can you?
No, you don't need to. So if it's less than 10,000, then you don't need to do a bid and you don't need to break it up.
Okay, so you can just send it all at once.
Right. Exactly. Yep. If you look back at the rules, so here's the rules, and these are in your RTP instructions if you need to look at them. 3 vendor quotes are required for equipment or materials that's greater than $2,000 per invoice. 3 vendor quotes are required for equipment rental expenses, $10,000 per project. So if it's less than this, then no bids are required. And if you do your billing properly, you know, like I said, bid workaround for equipment rental, there is none if it's over 10,000. But if you've got bid workaround for materials, you can do that by just having $2,000 per day per invoice. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great.